What? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Radio Works World with Dr Cheryl Chapman. That's me, and the lovely, looking very brown, Mr Martin Sharp. Welcome, Martin. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself, Cheryl?
Good stuff. So, where we're asking people to share their story on how they change their story so they can share the story and inspire others. So, without further ado, please introduce yourself.
Okay, so I am Martin Sharp. I've been working in my field now for over 24 years, 25 if you include some time at college. And I thoroughly enjoy what I do. I really do. I tend to help a lot of organizations, a lot of leaders, being able to take their growth and their growth challenges in either acquiring or divesting parts of their business or innovating inside their business to make it grow further and better. Because a lot of businesses to hit some kind of glass ceiling, not really sure how they move themselves forwards, but usually have a few good ideas and really just need a bit of structure on how they do that. And that's what I try and help them with.
Yeah, and these type of businesses, Martin, they're quite big businesses, or are they small businesses? How do you differentiate between who you work with and who you don't?
A lot of it comes down to whether I resonate with the people more than anything else. If you want to make big changes, you've got to work with people that you enjoy and you know they're going to have to work with you. You will find you won't make big changes if you're working against people. So a lot of the work that I do really is whether I resonate with the people themselves. And it can be fairly big organizations. I mean, probably the biggest I've done is a $16 billion asset transfer between two pharmaceutical giants. But it could be as small as some of the clients I've got where I'm moving them from their like 6 and lower 7-figure turnovers up into the 8, 9 and 10-figure turnovers where necessary. So it really is dependent on the person and the people involved in that organization rather than the type of organization it is.
Yeah. So you're like a superhero for corporates.
Never quite had it described like that before.
I've got an image of you going into an interview with your pants over your underpants over your trousers now, going, "We need to innovate." So, let me ask you a question. So, what was your favourite story as a child? Because you see, there might be a connection here.
Well, my favourite story as a child, and still is today, to be honest with you, is the Star Wars trilogy, and it kind of really just resonates. I just enjoy the out of this world kind of factors of it, the adventure, just the high fun of it, really. And it's when I start working with some teams, we do use this as a way of opening up the team just to find a little bit more about them. We say, well, if you could be any character you've ever been, who would you be? And more importantly, why would you be that person? And I tend to always go with Han Solo because I think, he's a bit of a rogue. He doesn't entirely do things by the rules, which looks like himself. And it can get his friends into a bit of mischief and get him into a bit of trouble, but usually tries to find a way out of it in the end. And I think that tends to describe the journey that I take a lot of my clients on is they don't necessarily know exactly which direction or which line they're going to go, but they do know in the end it's going to be something very spectacular.
Very good. I love that. You see, that's just given me a whole new load of ideas for this program anyway. So so there you were being influenced. You must be a lot younger than me. Influenced by Star Wars. I can remember falling asleep in Star Wars cinema, actually. Sorry. I was young. I'd had ice cream, I was in a coma, I think. But yeah, interesting that you chose Han Solo. Interesting. You see, this helps me with me trying to put people, trying to work out where their why comes from, and also where their story comes from. So please share with the lovely audience about the start of your journey. So this can be, like your personal journey or your corporate journey. What was it like at the beginning, in chapter 1, if you like? What was that like?
Well, I'm probably going to start in chapter 1. I'm going to start halfway through. And I think everyone's been on a journey in their life. And you kind of get in there, you've got the buzz, you know what you want to do, you're going to try and get there. And sometimes you get to the end of that journey and you feel a little deflated. You're not quite sure what it is that you've achieved or why you've achieved or what you're going to do next. And to me, that kind of happened in 2007, where if you'd been with me, you'd be sat on the sofa, probably feeling life couldn't get any better in your own house, with your young daughter who's just 4 hours old, just snuggling into your chest, and just relaxing, and just, you're exhausted. I mean, the day has been immense. You've had 7 midwives round. You've completely gone without sleep for the best part of a day and a half. I mean, obviously not as tired as my wife. She was very, very tired. But so, just listening, yeah. But you're just in a place of peace and happiness, really, and everything was going well. And I sat on that sofa that evening after we'd said goodbye to parents and things had been on, another family, to see everybody. I got a phone call, and it's like, yes, Ian, yeah, thank you. I mean, it's great. I've got my daughter, and she's lovely, and I really, really do appreciate being around. But yeah, we've won that deal. We've actually going to be doing the £1 billion hospital divestment. Oh, fantastic news! And they want me to lead it. They want me there doing this. I mean, could you imagine if you were on the end of that conversation, if you had taken that phone call just at the time when everything just seemed to be fantastic? But for me, it didn't feel as amazing as that. I felt like everything was great, having my daughter, and I felt like I was just on top of the world with work and everything. But I kind of got this niggling feeling at the back of my mind that I'd got to the end of what I'd set out to do. It's like a good 13 years prior. And that was, I wanted to become a consultant. I really wanted to help other organisations be the best as they could. I really thought I'd done as much as I possibly could to do that then. And my life kind of then, what meaning did it have? So I was kind of in this position of, well, where do I go next? I mean, where would you go next if you've actually achieved like your ambition at that point in time? You've got your lovely house, you've got your lovely family, you've got a great job, you've kind of achieved the success that you wanted to. Well, where do you take your journey next? And I think that's really where you found me in 2007.
Yeah. So you've kind of got like everything you want, and I'm sure that the people who are watching us down, we've got a few people watching us. I'll be honest with you, they don't actually know how to find out who's watching. So if they want to just put a comment up, or a little star, or a little thumb or a heart, then we might be able to do that. But so you're right. You're in that place where you think everything's absolutely idyllic, and then what do? Like it's kind of like, oh, I've achieved everything on my bucket list, maybe, or something like that. So I don't know if the viewers have had this kind of feeling themselves before. So it's like you're at the start of this journey, but actually it might feel like it's at the end because you've got everything you wanted, right? So
absolutely.
The question is, what happens next? So did you have any kind of life challenge that you had to overcome? Tell us about what you had to overcome after this idyllic start.
Well, I think anybody who's got a young family will certainly appreciate the fact that it's never easy. There's all the things that happen overnight, and you've got to make sure you're there for the family, and you're working hard to make sure everything's working okay. And certainly that's what I started with. I did the duck method, the heads down, bottom up in the air, trying to ignore what I wanted and trying to just deal with the daily life of the family and try to deal with work itself. And we delivered success. I mean, the project we were delivering there, the hospital was divested. And in fact, if you look back at that, it was amazing to think that we'd spent 2 years developing the plan and I was only £10,000 out from actually delivering it. So it was fantastic to come to it, but I still didn't feel really satisfied. And I knew that the duck method wasn't really working for me. I had to do something new. So I kind of went back to uni and went on another degree course, thinking I might have to just diversify my skills, look for something else. I did a management course from a human development college as well at the same time, as well as doing like a 2.5 hour commute daily there, 2.5 hours in the morning, 2.5 hours back from Leeds to London every day. It was a grueling kind of 12 months trying to sort my own head out and work out where I was meant to be going. And it was only by chance that one of the tutors, a good chap called Andy Mason, who's a bit of a serial entrepreneur himself, to be honest with you, and has developed a number of different businesses and recently sold a business of his own for a fair amount of money. And has gone on to set up several more businesses. They kind of took me to one side and say, well, Martin, he says, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm just trying to learn some more skills. He says, but these aren't the skills you really need. You need to be thinking more about doing things for yourself. Why are you giving stuff away to so many people? Why are you're not working for yourself and setting up your own business? And it was kind of at that point I had what Michael Gerber calls the entrepreneurial seizure. And certainly if anybody's not read E-Myth, go away and read E-Myth. You'll
great book.
And I started setting up my own business really at that point in time. And I'd never run a business before. And another good friend of mine, Darren Turner, he'd turn around to me and says, just think about what you're doing, Martin. He says, you've been put on a stage when you're in a business, when you're working with somebody else. And I never really understood what he actually meant by that. I do today, but at the time I didn't. And I kind of thought, well, I'm still going to go do it, it doesn't really matter. And credit crunch was coming along. Yeah, we might as well go set up a business. What else are you going to do in the middle of a credit crunch?
Great timing.
Absolutely. I was just high with it. I'm thinking, if you can make it work now, you can make it work at any point in time. And I did, effectively. And then I started my own business, a little consultancy business, delivering pretty much the same as what I'd always done, hired a few people, etc. And we were doing really well until a point where one of the clients just didn't pay. And have you ever been in that position where you've got a substantial amount of money outstanding? I mean, not just a small. I mean, this is the kind of money that would break your bank. You're wondering what on earth are you going to do next? And that's the position I was in at that point in time. And we had some.
Let me ask you a question. So at that stage, so obviously you've been telling yourself stories because, of course, this whole concept is about, changing your story and sharing your story, which is obviously what you're doing now, which is brilliant. Thank you for giving us these insights. But at that time, so the credit crunch has hit, you've made the decision, based on like this kind of like entrepreneur seizure, I love that. So you based it on this moment where someone said, look, what are you doing? Like, you're giving everything to everybody else. Why don't you just set up on your own business, right? And I don't know if anybody who's watching has ever had that kind of, light bulb moment or entrepreneurial seizure. Yeah, so you can't get the teeth in. Seizure. They might give you a bit of a thumbs up if anybody's had that moment of like, what am I doing making someone else rich, right? So what's the story that you're telling yourself at this stage? I mean, what's the conversation that's going on in your head, Martin?
Well, when we set up the business, it's like, well, of course I can do this. No problem. I've done this loads of times for other people, and I've set these things up, and I've helped people run their own businesses, and I've improved them. I've sorted out processes for them. I've worked out teams with them. I've helped them put systems in place. So you kind of have this it's just a very surreal feeling, I think. And it's not until you really start to do the work for yourself that sometimes you actually realise some of the intricacies of running a business. Suddenly you are the person who is responsible. The buck stops with you for everything. You need to become the jack of all trades. I mean, it's is it Various Virtuous? The Roman guy from 25 BC who turned around and said an architect has got to be a man of letters, a man of words, a man of astronomical value, and a whole host of other things that this man had to be. And that is who you have to be when you're in your own business. Because regardless of whether you're going to delegate it to somebody at some other point in time, if you don't know how your accounts work, or your financing, or your HR, or your legal structure, or contracts, or all that plethora of other things that happen in the background, you really can't delegate it to anybody else. And what you end up doing is you abdicate your responsibilities, because you would just expect somebody else to do it. And at that point in time, you have no measure. You've got no way of knowing what's going on. And at some point in time, that person will just disappear. You will look under the covers and suddenly see a nightmare. And that does happen. I mean, unfortunately, that's what happened in my case. I was in a position where I trusted my clients, and I've got one of these great failings. My greatest failing is I trust everybody, and I trust everybody until they give me a reason otherwise. Because I find if you trust everybody, then in most cases everything works well because people expect that from you. You can be as open and honest with them as they are with yourself. And in most of my relationships, whether that's personal or professional, it works exactly the same way, and it works very, very well for me. So for the odd occasion where it doesn't work, such as when we didn't get paid, you can't learn from those mistakes. And for that one, it was a very specific mistake. We went in there, we were doing a piece of work. We're only a subcontractor from the principal contractor, and the principal contractor couldn't deliver. effectively. They couldn't do the things in time. We could. So we spoke to their project management team. We said we'd get ourselves in there. We would get it all sorted out for them. We had 4 weeks to complete. Out of an 8-week cycle, we completed the whole lot for them. And the client was very happy. And it's only when push came to shove and we put the invoices in that the seller says, well, we're not paying you for that, effectively. We agreed this very small portion of 1 or 2 people who were going to be delivering the work for 4 weeks. You delivered like 8 people for 8 weeks. We're not going to pay you for that. And that's, when you're a small business, is such a substantial chunk. It was enough to take us out of business if we hadn't taken some drastic action at that point.
Wow, that's interesting because when people see that you're successful and they just think, oh yeah, everything's great, everything's fabulous. But of course, we don't live in a, well, some people do live in a world, I have to say, where they go around moaning and oh, woe is me, and oh, why is this happening to me? But anyone who's an entrepreneur, anybody has had some shit, right? Some shit's hit the fan at some stage. And what I love about your story is when you talk about, as an entrepreneur, you have to do everything in the business. And I suddenly had this moment where I was just about to say, I remember the first time when I'd set up my own business and I was like, something went wrong with the computer and I was like, I'll just phone the IT department. Oh, that'll be me then. But then I just realised you don't have that problem because you know about IT. What about me? I didn't know about IT. But there are these moments where you go, oh, I'll just, if you've been in corporate, if you've worked for somebody else, I think in that moment, I kind of realised like how things were just already there, so easily available. And it's only in that moment where something goes wrong that you go, oh my God, like I've just realised like I don't have an IT department, I don't have a finance department. And you're right. I mean, finance is not my forte. That's not what I'm here for. So yes, I've got to get somebody in, and I did. And my first accountants, I'll be honest with you, they didn't make it easy for me. And I didn't know what I didn't know. So how the heck am I supposed to say, can you tell me about all the things that I don't know about so I know about them so I can make sure you do them right for me? Yeah. There is this kind of, like this problem or these situations that come up. So, So the great thing is, I suppose, if you have to look back on your life and look back at the stories that you tell yourself, is that it does help you to grow and helps you to become the person that you are. So let's share a story. If you could just share a story with the listeners. Hello, listeners, by the way. I'm just here, by the way, with Martin, who's telling us and sharing his story, his inspiring story of where he was. So he's, just as a recap, he had an idyllic moment, if you like, in his first scene where he's there with his newborn baby. Everything's brilliant. And then he decides that he's going to go into business because someone said, well, you're making everybody else rich, so why don't you make yourself rich? And he does that right at the credit crunch time, and of course a few challenges. So share the story of where you are now, Martin, please.
Yeah, sure. Today I work with so many different organisations in a variety of different capacities. I've helped mentor people and coach them in areas of like enterprise architecture and IT and management and building their own businesses and things. I also give away some of those services to the community, so I help some small businesses when they just need help, and also I've been helping people like Leeds University Business School to help students transition into a working life as well. So that's been quite inspiring and helpful, and I get as much out of it as what they do in many cases. Written books. So I've written books both for other organisations such as the British Computer Society as well as for myself. And in fact, I'm award-winning author now from my last book that I published.
And what's the name of that book? What's the name of that book? It's got a very short title, hasn't it?
No, it's incredibly short. It's called Digital Transformation: The Significance of an Imperative Successfully Delivering Complex IT Projects. Just in case you needed the complexity in there. And
so I'm just going to point out here, we've got Sirpa Hanishlau. Hello, Sirpa. She says she's watching and trying to understand some things because she's learning English every day. At this stage, I'm going to guarantee she'll be very confused. And also we've got Dari. Hello, Dr. Dari. Welcome. It's nice to see you here. So just in English for the non-complex technological people, what does that book really help them with?
It just gives you some very simple things to think about when you're trying to put something in that's very, very complex. So a lot of it is just very much common sense. And you'll read through it and you'll go, why on earth didn't I do that in the first place? And that's what most of it is about. It's just realising a lot of the times you do have the skills inside, but it's joining the dots together. and it's pulling the ideas together, and it's just making sure that you have the right things in place. Make sure you consider yourself to be the right leader who's going to be leading things in the right way, making sure that you understand you're doing it for the right reasons, and making sure that you have the structure around it so that you can explain it to the various people. So if you need to talk to the C-level guys, the gods, if you please, you can put it in that hairy-fairy, fluffy language that they may need to understand it. And if you need to talk it to the most engineering person in engineering speak, then you do so, and you give them it in the exact detail that they want. But between the two of them, you have this nice thread, so that if one changes what happens, the other one can see it, and they can understand it in the language that they know. And that's really what it's all about, is doing that process.
Yeah. And here's what I love. If anybody's listening now, I mean, obviously Martin and I have done some work together, and it's great when, you know, when I find someone who's got like a fabulous concept and a great idea, and it's going to be able to help, you know, in this case, it's helping entrepreneurs, it's helping small business owners to big business owners. I mean, what's really great about you, Martin, is that you've got all these ideas that work for the mega sized companies, but actually those tools, tips and techniques that you're using to grow those huge companies can be used in the small businesses. And I know that at first, when I first met you, I was like, oh my God, like he's talking like a textbook. It's like an encyclopedia to everything in the world. And that's great. And you've got all the knowledge, but I just need to be able to understand what you're saying. And did you notice just with that one question, Martin then went, oh, hello, I got a bit giddy there and I got a bit excited. And it's like he's got this ability to be able to be the translator. You know, so you can speak to those people who know that language, and you can also speak to somebody like me who's like, yeah, like, what does that really mean for me? And that's what I think is brilliant about you and your story, because maybe before, you know, my story about you might be, I was a bit too complex and like, I don't know if I'd be able to understand him, but you showed me on the spin of a dime just then. Spin of a dime. Do I think I'm American? What the hell was that all about? Anyway, on the spin of a penny, you showed me, you know, how transferable your skills are, because you can speak to me, you can speak to anybody. You've got this real transferable skills. So I just want to point that out there. So I hope you're enjoying our little storytelling here. So that's brilliant. So now you're helping people. If you had a quote that you could share with somebody that's kind of kept you going through those, you know, good times and bad times, what would that quote be? What would you like to share with the people on the call?
I think I'd go with Greg Anderson's quote. He was an American author who coined the phrase of focus on your journey and not on your destination, because the joy is not found in finishing your activity, but in doing it. So you're going to spend a lot more time doing your activity than you ever were in actually trying getting it done. So just enjoy it.
Yeah. And so what do you do at the minute? What do you enjoy about your journey that you're on at the moment?
It's 1,000 things. It's meeting so many people, it's seeing so many challenges, it's translating so many ideas from incredibly ethereal things into tangible things and vice versa, and it's showing how to deliver value. It's just fabulous. There's so many different things, so many different facets. I enjoy my family. I enjoy the going outside and doing a lot of canoeing and things. Thoroughly enjoy doing that. And there's just lots of things that I find really good. But I think it is about people. And someone's asked me not long ago, actually, about 6 months ago, what do I actually do with my role? Why is my role classified as a technical role? And I says I'm not entirely sure, because probably only about 10% of my time is anything to do with technology. 90% of my time is all to do with people. And that's that I really enjoy.
Yeah, brilliant. And so what kind of people would benefit from working with you, and how can they contact you? I'm just thinking, you know, who can benefit? Anybody, a person, people can benefit, no doubt.
Absolutely. So if anybody's looking to grow, they want to become a leader in their technology area, I think I've certainly helped a lot of them in mentoring and coaching, so I can help them in that respect. Any organisation that feels like they've reached a bit of a glass ceiling and they're not too sure where to take it next, they've kind of gone through the organic growth and looking at some kind of acquisition or some kind of merger or maybe some kind of innovation that they want to come out with, and not too sure how they're going to get there. Or it might be that they've tried and they've failed to grow. and therefore they feel a little bit cautious, not too sure how they're going to approach it next time. Again, that can help those type of people. And so it might be a case of they want to do it themselves, in which case I can help them, give them the skills that they need, and give them some ideas and some thoughts as to where they're going to take it themselves. And some people might be looking for some more hands-on experience, in which case I can either come and help or certainly get some of my team members to help them.
Brilliant. And I know that you're really, really supportive, Martin. I've seen that in many areas of our connection. So if someone wanted to contact you, where would they get in contact with you?
You can email me at info@martinsharp.com, or you could go to www.martinsharp.com, or find me on Facebook at Martin Sharp UK.
So info@martinsharp.com, that would be a good place to start, right? And then if you want to share in the comments below, you can share that with you as well. That's great. I want to say thank you to Sherpa for listening, and also for your very nice comments about my smile. That was just for you. And for the people who've joined us either live or on the recording. And I want to thank you, Martin, because it's been a pleasure as ever to be in your company. And thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for showing what changed in your story. And more importantly, thank you for inspiring others. So have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.